All right. So are we live here? We're live, Tim?
We are live.
All right.
Uh, Looks to me like moment we currently have seven, eight, nine number of people logging in.
Yeah. And
So
I have a question for everybody that's logging in. Do you have chat ability in there? I was testing it earlier and I thought I enabled chat, but let's just type in here. Does everyone have chat ability? You can see I could chat. I just wanted to know if everybody else had chat too.
I can see it.
Okay. Okay, great.
See a bunch of friends are in the group. So Clint, why don't we get started and I'll let you get us moving.
So let me just get my screens situated here. Well, all right.
Are you sharing?
Debbie, you had said I have chat options says host disabled, attendee chat. Okay, Debbie, thank you for letting me know that. Yeah, so anybody has any questions during here, and this is gonna be part of my logistics anyway, just use the Q&A functionality to ask any questions. I would suggest that anyway. Um, but yeah, just want to make sure that if you have a question, if chat's not working for you, then yeah, just use the Q&A. So let's use that as our launching point into logistics. So, hey, everybody, good to have you on here as part of our Thursday webinar series, our leadership forum webinar series, where again, pretty much every single Thursday at 1 o'clock Eastern, we're going to be coming to you with 45-minute to hour-long webinar on a variety of topics. Like today about summer programs, or before previous sessions we've talked about classroom observations. We're going to talk about marketing and advertising and everywhere in between. So always be sure to keep an eye on your email for the invitations every single Thursday. And as you likely read in the email to get here, just a few housekeeping items. So one is the recording. You will always get the recording. It's typically 24 hours following today's session. That goes out via Zoom. So you will get the recording. Your for Q&A, as I already mentioned, use the Q&A functionality here inside Zoom. Whether we get to the Q&A during the actual session, or I would say in the middle of the session or after, we're always going to make time for Q&A. And certainly, even if you can't attend live in any future sessions, make sure you still register because you'll get that recording. And after the session as well, we have the post-webinar survey. Again, we're doing a lot of these. We want to hear what are the topics that are most important for you. We use that information to help build out our calendar of events. So continue to let us know how you like these, what you want to learn more about. Certainly, if you need any more assistance, whether it's from Tim and the foundation or anything else, let us know there. We can always get you some more information. All righty. With that being said, let's start diving into the webinar today. So, today, again, as everybody is probably very familiar, it's brought to you by uh, the Montessori Foundation and Tim Selden. So, Tim, you're going to be our presenter here, and I'm going to turn it over to you here in a second. And I will just say, with over 50 years in Montessori education, being just the most trusted voice for schools around the world, and it's great, with what you're doing with the foundation, supporting school leaders, training educators, helping families bring Montessori principles to life, both in and out of the classroom. And I think what's really cool, and some of you may have seen this in some of the emails that have been going out, we've been working on some really cool things behind the scenes that I think everybody's going to be really excited about, which are shortly we'll be releasing a schedule of uh, multi-day professional development workshops. So you can expect that coming here in July. Probably by next week, I think we're going to be launching a new discussion forum. So just a really great place for people to get together across the globe. You can talk with fellow administrators, teachers, heads of school, whatever, talk with us. So as you have questions that pop up on a daily basis, that'll be a really great forum where you can connect, share feedback, share tips, and help support each other. And then lastly, I'll just say in conjunction, let me share my screen just to pull this up to have a little bit of a visual. Share. That in conjunction with the Montessori Foundation and Montessori Compass, together we launched something really unique, which is the Montessori Growth Suite, which is really the first all-in-one platform. Now, I've seen a lot of other software platforms out there say, hey, we're all in one, when in fact they're actually not all in one. They do a handful of things, but not everything. But this is truly an all-in-one software tool designed exclusively for Montessori schools, where we're actually combining marketing, advertising, admissions, tuition and billing, classroom management, parent communication, fundraising, all in one spot, and it's with this Montessori Growth Suite. So if you see the link on there, and I'll put this in the chat as well, but if you go to montessoricompass.com, you'll see a link there for the Growth Suite. There's a whole trial there. You can try it out. You can join webinars to get more of an inside look. But again, I wanted to bring awareness and attention that this exists. Schools love it. You can finally stop duct taping software together, paying for 5 different subscriptions, and really again have stuff all in one place for you and the rest of your school and your team. Alrighty, so with that being said, last thing I'll mention is that if you are interested in more information about this or any other services through the foundation or through Montessori Compass and the Montessori Growth Suite, in that post-webinar survey, just check the box saying, yeah, I'm interested in more, and we'll send you some more information at that time. So, all right, well, Tim, let me stop sharing. Let me allow you to share, and we can dive into today's session on building a vibrant summer program, which again can apply to your current programs in terms of how do you drive more enrollment from your current programs, but also as it seems like the moment we get in the fall, we already start planning for next year's summer program. So how to maximize revenue enrollment as you are getting through this summer and planning for next year. So Tim, I'll turn it over to you, and I'll be monitoring the Q&A behind the scenes.
That's great. And I see a lot of old friends that are here, and I really appreciate you coming. Hope you get value out of this. So, what I want to talk to you about is the idea that most of us have something that happens in the summer, but typically the enrollment drops off significantly, and it feels like, is it really worth doing? Not everyone can successfully build a summer program, but I would certainly argue that ideally you want to make your school facility and your school as an entity operate 12 months a year. One, you need the income and keep those nonprofits coming in or keep those profits coming in, whatever you are, and serve families. Where I think we have traditionally made mistakes as independent schools is we poll our faculties and they don't want to work in the summer, or we think about our own administrative overload and we don't want one more thing to be responsible for, or we've had relatively little interest from our own families and we say, yeah, for 30 kids out of 200, 300, it just isn't worth it. I would argue that in most markets, if you do it correctly, you can develop a whole second business, which is your summer program. And so the title of the talk is Maximize Your School's Potential, the Power of Vibrant Summer Programs. And the idea is this: if you receive, let's say, $2 million a year, $3 million, $1 million, whatever it is, a gross revenue for 9 months a year. And if you're only receiving about 20% of an average monthly income during the summer, you're in a perfect position where I think you would do well to really get serious about your summer program. Recognizing that going from whatever you're doing now, if you're not already doing what I'm going to advise, and some of you probably are, and I still hope you're going to get some good ideas from this, even if you've got a vibrant summer camp or summer school program. Even if you are, I think that what you're looking to do is bring in the same amount of money per day as you would normally bring in the school year. I'll go further. It's much easier to get more money per hour per day in the summer in most markets, and I say most, than it is for school. Because in most markets, there is an anxiety about how far can we push tuition, and people either are looking at it by the week or by the month. More typically for independent schools like ours, they're thinking about it in terms of the semester or the year. What's the total year cost me? And you have the possibility of bringing in at least as much as you get per day for school, if not more. There's a whole industry in summer camps, and there are all kinds of summer camps, from the ones that your local church or synagogue run for little kids, to the YMCA or the Scouts or Boys and Girls Clubs, to the serious summer day camps, and of course the big sleepaway camps. There are all kinds of independent schools, boarding schools, day schools, schools that have big campuses, schools that have small campuses or many small locations, or big campuses, but you're in a city. I don't care what your situation is, there's probably an opportunity for you. On our Tuesday webcast, Clint described one of the clients that he works with in Toronto, where their marketing message is all of Toronto is our campus. When I went to the Barry School, which is a famous Montessori school in Washington, D.C., I can tell you all of Washington, D.C. was our summer camp campus. When my mother started the Barry School, it was located in my grandmother's house, big mansion in Washington. And she would take the kids in the summertime to a farm she rented in Chevy Chase. They go on the streetcar, they get off at Chevy Chase Lake, and they go walk to this farm about a half mile away, and that's where they spent their day. And that was the beginning of the success that became the Barry School. So I just want to suggest that this is serious. It does require an investment in energy, but it may be that it's not something you're going to do alone. Ideally, it's big enough that you can afford for someone to manage it for your school, or at least get help. Secondly, it may be your teachers don't want to work in the summer, or some of them may. There are all kinds of ways that schools do this. Um, but bottom line is, don't let the limitations of a tired staff keep you from maximizing your school's potential. So why do it? Well, we would suggest that first off, we run summer programs to meet family needs year round. Not every family needs us. Many people go away for the summer, or they go away for part of the summer. But there are other people, other than the people that come to our school, that are usually looking for something. It may be that if your school is only early childhood, you may be out competed by little church and synagogue and private nursery school, daycare center, summer programs. It seems like these days, every children's museum, the zoos, everyone is running some kind of summer program. Music camps, School of Rock, every dojo and taekwondo program, everyone is running camps. On the other hand, there is usually room in the market for something really good. And what we're recommending is you try to develop something that is really good. The other thing to remember is in most of our markets, we're dealing with more than 10,000 families. If you're in a major metropolitan area like Chicago, Philadelphia, Atlanta, New York City, Nashville, it may be you're in a suburb like Mount Juliet, but there's still enough people around you that if you play your cards right, usually all you need is another 50 to 100 kids. And if you market aggressively, and by the way, lack of marketing, from my experience, is the single biggest problem with making Montessori or independent school budgets work, is we fail to aggressively market and spend and invest money on marketing, both guerrilla marketing, which is free, but it takes time, social media marketing, which again is free, but it takes time, or paid marketing like Google advertising for people that are searching with the right search phrases. And by the way, SEO optimization is great, but that's not enough. That is not enough. You need to do that and you need to advertise, in my opinion. And Facebook advertising, which is putting your name out in front of people. You may want to do billboards. You may want to, there are all kinds of things that people do to get their name out in a local market. You need to really market smart. So the first thing is you're not just meeting the needs of your current families, you're meeting the needs of your community, because many times families want something different for their children in the summer. There are other families that are saying, I don't want to have to do something different. I don't want to think about, all right, this week I got him in art camp, and next week I got him in French immersion camp, and next week I got him in baseball camp. I mean, there are people that like that, and there are people that are looking for stability. And you can serve both. And I strongly recommend you look and figure out, don't limit yourself to your current families. Big mistake. The Barry School, which is still operating big time in Silver Spring, Maryland, is almost 100 years old now. The Barry Day Camp is a major enterprise in its own right, bringing in multi-million dollars a year. And I don't know what the current enrollment is, but when I was head of school 30 some years ago, it had about 800 kids a week for 8 weeks in the summer. Whereas the school year was an enrollment of about 550 to 650 up and down over the years. Um, and summer camp was bigger than school. That took a lot of work, but it was a serious, serious investment, and it really made Barry work better. Second reason to do a summer program is families that try out your camp often fall in love with your school. Your summer camp can be all recreational, all fun and games, or it can be academic. It can be all kinds of things, but for sure, always make sure that people know this camp is brought to you by a major school, which has a unique identity, and there are reasons why families choose us as opposed to the local government schools. Again, there are all kinds of people in the world. There are people that love the local public schools and can't even imagine doing something different, but they often will choose a summer program. Third is by being family friendly, by operating 12 months a year, you're more family friendly. You're building more loyalty with your current families who do need help during the summer. They may only use you for 2 weeks, for 4 weeks, for 6 weeks, or all 8 weeks, or it could be that you're running 10 weeks. There's no one answer, but you're providing a program in the summer for a lot of families is a really big plus. The third is you can prevent summer learning fade. And that again can be a very major advantage. The idea of having a structured summer program that has some kind of academic enrichment, it can be incredibly valuable for your school. And by the way, it's a great way for your teachers that are beginning to get bored, but they're really interested in theater or in pottery or in photography or video making or teaching the second language they know or doing musical theater, whatever. This is a great opportunity for them to spend 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, not only earning extra money, but doing something they really enjoy. And then obviously by running in the summertime, there are some people on our staffs who need that summer income. And as long as you don't require it, which can burn people out, that can be, again, a really big plus for families that depend on that income and are looking to boost it, even if you're taking 9 or 10 weeks, 10 months of salary and paying it out over 12 months, which a lot of us do. That extra income in the summer can be a really important thing to a lot of our employees. So a winning summer program formula would include something that creates strong enrollment, which is attracting and retaining great families year after year. I mean, the Barry Camp has an alumni association going back again 50, 60 years at this point of people that are still alive that went to Barry Camp as kids or sending their kids or their grandkids there now. And they have these incredibly strong memories of their years at the Berry camp. Really strong, engaging programs are really important. And of course, being flexible with your scheduling helps. And again, there are a lot of ways to be flexible. For some of you, that might suggest, well, if they only want to come on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we'll let them do that. I personally don't recommend that because camp counselors have enough trouble creating short duration group coherency. So personally, I recommend 2 weeks in a row, but you may want to do 2 week blocks. Some schools will say, we'll let you break a 2 week session up and only come for 1 week if you're coming for at least 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever. There are many, many ways to do it. But the more stability, the more likely you are to have groups that don't become problematic with kids that are crying or kids that are homesick or kids that feel that someone is a bully or is being rough and mean and saying nasty, dirty things to them. The second thing is you want to really think about what are you going to charge. You need to charge enough that you can make money. Otherwise, why do it? Um, but don't don't price yourself according to the cheapest church or synagogue program in town. Figure out what the value proposition is and charge accordingly. And one of the things the Montessori Foundation does for schools that are interested, we help you figure out your budget and what you should charge and how you should structure your tuition, whether for summer or for school year, to have maximum appeal so you don't get sticker shock of parents looking and saying, oh, no, 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 I can't possibly afford it. There are lots of ways to increase enrollment if you work correctly. The next thing is you really need to gather a dedicated staff. These are the building blocks of a successful summer program. Again, it may not be your current teachers. They may or may not really want to work in the summer, or they may want to work, but they may be deadheads. You need people that are vibrant, young, engaging, or young at heart. I like to think I'm young at my heart. I like being around kids and doing this kind of stuff.
Tim, can I ask you a question right there? Just maybe even elaborate
Sure.
on this because there was a question that came in, which was teachers need a break over the summer. What do you suggest when your regular staff isn't available? So I figured this would be a good time
To
to
hire a
address that.
whole different staff. You can get staff. I mean, first off, in most states, summer counselors can be anyone that's 18 years old. That's college kids. You can hire 21-year-olds. Your local public school teachers are looking typically to do something totally different in the summer. So there are lots of people who want to work in summer camps, and they're not looking for a year-round job at Starbucks or whatever. They're looking for seasonal work. And so while I don't want to propose that it's easy, it's not easy. There are people young, middle-aged, and older who are happy to work for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks in the summer doing something they really enjoy. And that could either be as a general counselor who's just going to be with a group of kids and they're going to go from activity to activity. For example, your school might have a pool, or you might have a bus, you might take kids to a public pool, or you might walk to a public pool. There are a lot of different ways people do camps. But there could be a general counselor or they could be a specialist doing something more than what your typical teacher would do, like teaching kids guitar or teaching them folk dance or teaching them circus skills or doing t-ball training or soccer camps or a French immersion camp or a Spanish camp. Endless themes you can do in the summer, but don't limit yourself to your own staff. They need a break. I couldn't agree with that more. Unless they don't. And again, don't assume that every teacher doesn't want to work in the summer because they need to be offered the opportunity, but you don't want to pressure people into doing it, in my opinion. That doesn't work well. Clint, do you think that answers the question?
I think it's perfect. Thank you.
Great. Okay, next thing is community engagement, which is the idea of looking for partnerships. And by that, I don't mean inviting your local dojo to come into your school facility and run their program and collect tuition separately. Nor do I recommend that you typically hire them to deliver program for you because usually they are going to charge something like $50 an hour per kid, which is a lot more than you're likely to be getting in tuition. So my recommendation is only run programs that you can run yourself or by using community partnerships of one sort or another. You either get volunteers or you get people that are willing to work for a price that you're able to afford, whatever that might be in your market. That might be 15 an hour, it might be 25 an hour, it could be as high as $50 an hour. You've got to figure out what works for you. But spice your program up by looking for really, really interesting partnerships. And there are a lot of ways to do that, including public facilities like your local nature museum, your children's museum, you know, the city around you. I mean, look for everything you can think of that might be right for the age groups that you're serving, which could be anything from infants and toddlers through high school kids. You're probably not going to see a lot of high school kids in a summer camp, except maybe as counselors in training. They're not going to go to a camp to be entertained all day. But middle school kids, parents often will enroll them in some kind of program. So definitely keep that open as a possibility. By the way, some people will have two levels of assistant counselors. They'll have a counselor in training program, which parents pay for. And it's a program where middle school kids who are interested in children and working with children are trained in first aid and group management and how to communicate with children. They basically pay you to get a certificate over 2 years in becoming a junior counselor. So keep in mind a CIT or counselor in training program, because that can be a really great way of getting great young helpers. Now, again, middle school kids can be great or they can be a pain in the neck. So don't just automatically allow people to enroll in that kind of program. You need to interview them and check them out and get references and try to avoid getting in a situation where you've got a problem on your hands. The other thing is ideally make the most of the facilities you've got. I mean, you may not have much, but what you've got is more than what most people have. So again, you may be competing with a really big ritzy school that looks like a college campus, or you may be competing with a church which has a bunch of little small unair conditioned buildings. I don't know. Use the best of what you've got on your campus and really value it. Now, this is especially important for Montessori schools because typically we have these beautiful Montessori prepared environments. In other schools, it could be a beautiful science lab or the gym. And the anxiety is there, not in my classroom do I want a group of kids and people that aren't trained in there. To make that kind of money, you may need to be prepared to pack up your classroom or some of your classrooms or turn everything against the wall so that you can use your indoor air conditioned spaces. Don't shut things down. And by the way, Montessori teachers that don't work for you if you're a Montessori school might be perfectly happy to work for your school for 2 weeks or 4 weeks in the summer to earn extra money. So you may be able to get Montessori teachers who are not on your payroll, who are perfectly willing to deal with early childhood or elementary age kids or infant toddler. Um, don't be surprised. Whoops. All right. Come on. Here we go. So, a Montessori quote, all great education fosters a love of learning, innate level of natural curiosity, deep respect for the child's individual. So if you align your summer programs with these core principles, we can create a transformative experience that nurtures the whole child. Just digest that for a minute. So, number one, give your summer program a great name. I mean, it should be associated with your school. It could be, Aardvark Academy summer programs or summer camp, summer day camp, or it could be summer at Newgate, summer at Barry, whatever. But figure out a great name. It could have a totally different name. Some schools have a summer camp that has a name that is not the same as the school's name, generally speaking, I don't recommend that. Some are at Beauvoir, some are at St. Albans, generally is going to do better than a name that is not associated with your school. Because one of the reasons to run a summer program is to promote your school. So give it a great name and pick a logo that's consistent. It could be your school logo or it could be a different logo, but it should be consistent in some way with the character of your school. The whole thing should feel in some way consistent with what you do during the school year. Now, here's just a few program ideas. One is outdoor adventures. You don't have to be in a forest to do outdoor adventures. You can teach kids about preparing for hikes and backpacks and packing, preparing meals out of doors, um, starting fires if you're comfortable with that. They can start campfires, they can cook outside, they can learn how to put up tents and take them down. By the way, you can have sleepovers if you're willing on your campus, on the playground, where maybe the kids without their parents or maybe the kids with their parents are invited once a summer. Some people do it once every 2 weeks, but a sleepover for those kids that are comfortable with that, it's never mandatory. But that can be something that a day camp can do. That for a lot of camps is a major, major thing that you don't see that much anymore. Another program idea is science, laboratory science, hands-on biology, chemistry, physics, STEM, engineering. Hands for Building has a great program for creating model buildings that uses real carpentry. There are all kinds of things. Culinary, if you have a teaching kitchen or a kitchen that's a commercial kitchen, or if your state and county allow you to do any kind of food preparation, teaching kids how to cook in the summertime can be a great idea. A lot of kids really enjoy that. Creative expression can be anything from dance to choral singing to youth opera. By the way, if you don't know what Youth Opera International is, look it up. It's something you can Google. You could do that in the summer. It's going to take more than 2 weeks in general to get a youth opera put on and actually performed, but you could also do simple musical theater that is not so involved. For example, in Austria, I happen to know there's a chain of family resorts that it's in the Austrian Alps, and they put on a production of scenes from Sounds of Music with the children who are guests of the hotel, and they do it in 1 week. So you definitely can do this kind of thing if you want to. So those are just 4 simple ideas. Could be filmmaking. I mean, these days making films is incredibly easy. Offer flexible scheduling. It's just a few ideas. Weekly half-day camps, 9 to 12, and you have a price for that. You could have extended day camps that are open early and close late. And by the way, I show 8 o'clock to 5. You might do 7 o'clock until 6 o'clock. There's no wrong answer. You could do 1 week intensive workshops and have a fee per child for that. And it could be this much a day or this much a week. By the way, this much a day would not be unusual. You could have 2 week specialty tracks. And again, I'm showing prices that are, in my opinion, are on the very low side. So if 400 a week sounds low to you, good. But if it also sounds about right for you, I tried to think in terms of what I see in the country, and there's no wrong answers. But a lot of camps are these days costing more than $500 a week for a child to attend. You can have 2 week specialty tracks. And again, a lot of schools will do something, especially if they're preschool, they might have, we'll study dinosaurs for a week and we'll study dog species, dog breeds another week. There's no wrong answer. And of course, you can have overnight adventure camps. Um, that's probably more than what most of us want to do, but some schools can do that. So we want to have, again, programs that would appeal to ideally every age group that you serve. And these are, again, just a few simple ideas like shark camp and theater camp and sports camp or filmmaking camp or early childhood. If you're a Montessori school, you could literally have your Montessori classrooms running in the summertime. Or if you're a Waldorf school or whatever kind of school, whatever you do with young kids in the school year, you could just continue in the summer. You could do music camp. You could do a math enrichment program. You could do a young readers workshop or a reading catch-up program. You could do a science camp or a nature camp or a circus skills camp or a second language immersion camp. These are just a handful of ideas. So, for example, you could do programs like practical life exploration, where kids learn practical life skills above and beyond what they normally do during the school year. It could be gardening or cooking or first aid or sewing or carpentry, all kinds of things that kids can do. Building birdhouses or little Wendy houses, which are what you would call playhouses. There are all sorts of programs that people do in the summertime with campers. You could do sensorial immersion, which can be anything from learning Tai Chi or yoga or dance, nature walks, art projects. All of that is, if you think about it, using your senses. You could develop all kinds of programs that have to do with listening to the world, making sounds in the world, learning patterns in the world, doing all kinds of things that I think of as being sensory. You could do language and literature, all kinds of young theater, young playwrights workshop, a young writers workshop, school, write for a newspaper, things where young kids that are interested learn to improve their writing skills. You could do all kinds of math labs. Think about how many people pay to go to either math enrichment or math catch-up programs. Why can't your school do that? You don't need to have a franchise from Russian math or from Kuman or something else. You could do what you normally do as a great private school. You could probably do pretty similar stuff during the school year. Cultural activity, you do all kinds of things that are, international studies, world peace, second language immersion or the history of the world. Some camps, one camp in Miami does a whole thing on ancient Rome and ancient Greece for the summer. There's no there's no limit to what you could do. You just need to figure out what are you willing to do. Um, you could also do community building where your kids are going out into the world making a difference, trash pickup or beach cleanup or service, going to old elderly centers, homes for shut-ins and so forth, all kinds of programs where your kids could learn a skill. So you want to invest in recruiting talent. The first is look for people in your school. It could be that they're parents in your school. It could be teachers in your school. It could be assistants in your school. It could be your Spanish teacher, or your art teacher, or your phys ed teacher. Look for people who already work with you or part of your school community who might be interested in 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, or 8 weeks in the summer. Second, tap into local talent. If you know someone who's a great musician, for goodness sake, see if they're interested in doing a couple of weeks where they come in for 2 or 3 hours a day for a few days. Or maybe they're willing to work for 2 weeks full day. Who knows what they're willing to do? Look for people like that. Invest in program development. Sending a teacher who's interested in computers or in theater training or in whatever might interest them. For example, there's a woman in San Diego named Spramani Elam, and I know that name is weird. It's Spraumi, and then her second name is Elam, if I remember correctly. Spramani Elam at spramani.com, as I recall. She has got one of the most interesting early childhood and elementary art programs I have ever seen. Taking a artistically gifted person and training them in her art program and then getting the supplies could give you a whole new program during the school year and something special in the summer. So invest in this kind of stuff whenever possible. Offer attractive perks, which might be, don't pay the best you can. Try not to be cheap. Again, you can only pay what you can pay, but this summer camp should not be thought of as the stepchild. This should be thought of as the moneymaker possibility for your school. In other words, do it well. The very best program you can afford is more likely to make money than something done on the cheap. Build a leadership pipeline. If you're exhausted already as a head of school or an assistant head of school, find someone who would think this is the most wonderful opportunity they've ever heard of and get them involved. It may take you several years to find them, but you need to be on the lookout for someone that wants to do that. And then finally, foster a collaborative culture, because the more people enjoy themselves in the summer, instead of just regarding it as a hot, sweaty, nasty job, the more likely they're going to want to come back. Now, some of you may have worked in a summer camp when you were young. It may have been a church camp, it may have been a Jewish youth camp, but you may recall that there are people that came back year after year to be on that staff. Done correctly, summer programs are, are magnets to bring some incredible people into your school orbit. And I think you want to find people that want that. And I think you want to try to encourage that kind of culture in the summertime. Not that you wouldn't want to encourage it in the school year either. You want to have facilities that are as inspiring as possible. And again, depending on what you're living with, you may not be able to do much. But classrooms are, of course, important. The outdoor grounds are important. If you're in the South, it's too hot by 10 o'clock. In the summertime, you're probably going to need air-conditioned spaces. But up in Maryland, the kids were outside essentially all day long. Um, if you have a gym, it's great. If you have an outdoor pavilion or an outdoor field, these are really important. Art and music studios, these are great. Science labs, these are just examples of things. Pools, whatever you've got. Now, you want to have a real eye on if you're going to do a summer camp. For goodness sakes, there are a lot of reasons to do it, but having more money to support your school during the school year or your school as an entity is got to be one of the major reasons why you do this. And many of us have a scarcity or poverty mentality. And I just recommend you treat this as a serious business. Do the best you can. Now, you can't always do it. I never was able to do it in Florida. Our school just never had enough facilities to build up a really strong summer program. But up north in Maryland, DC area, this was major, major, major. And again, another school in Florida with better facilities, more indoor spaces, probably would have been more successful than we were. There's no wrong answer. You do the best you can. But knowing that what you're trying to do is make the most of your facility so that it's working for you ideally 12 months a year. That's the reason for doing this, as well as all the other benefits that I've mentioned, such as attracting new families to school because they had such a great experience in the summer, being family friendly, all kinds of reasons to run a summer program. You want to market. You cannot assume that just running a summer program and putting something up on your website is going to fill a summer camp. You've got to go out and aggressively market it. And again, don't be afraid because everyone else is running a summer program. Figure out something that's unique that you can do, and ideally multiple unique things, and really, really focus your marketing. And again, everything here is all true. You've got to figure out how to get the word out that your school now has a really, really, really interesting summer program. This is big stuff. And again, I can't recommend Clint and the Grow Suite enough in terms of what it can do for you. From my experience with my own school, which is how I met Clint, is without marketing, a terrible thing happens. Nothing. You really need to invest in marketing. Many, many schools do, but many schools don't. If you're only spending $5,000, $10,000 a year on marketing, you're making a huge mistake. If you've got $1 million budget, you should be spending, in my opinion, between $25,000 and $50,000 a year on marketing. Because if you do it, you're more likely to end up with not $1 million a year of revenue. You're going to end up with $1,250,000 or $1,500,000. So it's not just about money, but you've got to keep those nonprofits coming in. So you want to cultivate a summer community, again, to introduce new families to your school, to strengthen your school culture, which may sound weird because it's the summertime. But if you do it right, this is going to resonate with your year-round school. You're trying to build lasting relationships with families, and you want to ideally engage families that are looking for year-round engagement. You want to provide them with a year-round community. It can really, really be incredibly important. So, the path to success. The first is you got to start by asking, what do we got? What kind of facilities do we have? What kind of resources do we have? That includes Montessori materials or a great science program or a gym or a baseball field, or we've got a little pool, whatever. Take a look at your resources also in terms of human resources, with the talents that you have personally, the talents your staff have that they might be willing to share. Again, a lot of people, a lot of teachers need a break, but they're willing to work for a couple of weeks in the summertime. As long as they get 6 weeks off out of 8, it's not uncommon to get some of your summer staff from your current teachers. Third, align your summer program vision with your, says Montessori mission and values. Some of you are Montessori educators, some of you are not. I don't care. I don't care if it's Waldorf. I don't care if it's Christian. It doesn't matter. Whatever your values are, whatever your vision is, your summer program should be a reflection of your school, parochial school, whatever it is. Thirdly, develop a diverse and engaging program portfolio. In other words, a set of things you're going to do in the summer to captivate students of the entire age range that you want to serve. And again, a lot of schools that I work with are Montessori schools, and they might only have 20, 30 kids in their elementary. But elementary might be a major area where if you play your cards right, you can attract kids. So again, don't limit yourself to your own children. In fact, having gone to a Montessori school, it was all those kids out of every child attending the Berry Day Camp, and again, it was about 800 kids a week, less than 100 were kids enrolled in the Berry School. They were kids from the Washington, D.C. area that came from long distances to be part of our summer camp. Now, it helps to have horses and forests and all kinds of cool things. But again, I work with schools that are in downtown London and downtown Paris and downtown Nashville. You can do all kinds of things. You just have to figure out, what can I do with what I'm able to do? Fourthly, you want to assemble a passionate and dedicated team of summer program professionals. That may or may not be the people that work for you during the school year. But take that summer program seriously. That's the main message of this workshop. Then you got to market strategically to reach your existing families so that they get it. This is not the same old, same old. This is different. And you want to go out and look for new families. And then finally, you want to set this thing up as a bit. What you're trying to do is make sure that your school is more sustainable because of the income, the profit that you're making during the summer is supporting the rest of your school. And again, if you decide as a school that you want to do this, you're going to need the entire year to either revitalize what you've been doing or to plan a whole new program or to reorganize what you've got. And if you need help, this is one of many areas where the Montessori Foundation can assist you in planning it all out, pulling it all together, and making it happen. And we're not going to do it for you. Don't get me wrong. We're strategic business advisors. We are school consultants, but we understand the business of independent schools, Montessori and otherwise, and we're here to help. So you want to embrace the summer. Don't see it as a pain in the neck. See it as something really exciting. Again, find something that gets people excited, like nature-based leadership or practical life or environmental education, inspiring wonder and interconnectedness, or create an international camp. We're going to look at, there's a camp model called Camp Passport, where every week the kids, quote, visit another country and they do all kinds of art and cooking and so forth from that country. There's no limit to the creativity of what you can do in a summer program. And you want to find a way that every kid feels like this was a fantastic experience. This was not hot, sweating, and boring. This was cool. This should really be exciting. So the goal is to do something that really ignites your school, transforms it, makes the whole school bigger, more exciting, more visible in your community. Whether you're in Phoenix, Arizona, San Francisco, Oakland, California, Berkeley, Washington, D.C., this should be something that puts you on the map. I cannot tell you how important, in my opinion, my experience of 50 some years, the summer program can be. If you do this right, this will be the first day of the redefinition of your school if you play your cards right. And again, you do not need to be a big, fancy private school to do this. I've seen it's hard to do with one classroom. I've seen my mother did it with only 13 kids for the first several years. And it took a long time before she hit the first 100 kids. But again, I've seen schools just like Mount Juliet Montessori do that in rented facilities in an industrial or business park. You can do this anywhere. You just have to play your cards right and figure out your unique strategy. Again, maximize your potential. The power of vibrant summer programs. If you embrace the power, an independent school like yours, Montessori, Waldorf, Catholic, Jewish, Christian, whatever you are, it can unlock every door for you. It can strengthen your school culture. It can make your school more visible in the community. I mean, just think about the Barry School. Out of 800 kids, do you have any idea how many thousand children actually rolled through in the course of an 8-week summer? It wasn't 800 kids. It was more like 5,000 children because some would come for 2 weeks, some would come for 4 weeks, some would come for 6 weeks. You can be pulling a lot of kids through your program who are not enrolled in your school, and it can really build your enrollment. And that's it. So I just hope that you got value out of that. Clint?
That was great, Tim. Thank you. Certainly if there's questions, whether you have questions about, hey, what can we do this year? How do we plan for next year? And Tim, you mentioned it in terms of that you can help. And so let me mention a couple things. And post-webinar survey, if you want to have a further conversation with Tim and the team at the foundation to help you with your summer programs or any program at your school to help you grow, just fill out, just check the box, say yes, get you some more information. You can always book a call. But Tim, did you want to highlight, how are you working with schools, whether it's, with summer programs? Well, let's stick with summer programs for right now, since that's obviously our topic, but then you can expand to some of the other ways and what capacities you help schools, whether it's on-site professional development, consulting. But do you want to talk a little bit about the
Sure.
specific areas? And
Well,
hold on, I do see a question. Okay. Rupali, thank you. Glad you liked it. But yeah, Tim, why don't you talk a little bit about maybe tactically, how some of the things you could do when you come in and work with a school for their summer programs or anything else?
Well, first off, any of you can ask for a free half-hour consultation. Um, we don't do 20 of those for an individual school year because, frankly, my team feeds itself by providing services for a fee. Our rates are $200 an hour or $2,000 a day, which may sound expensive. However, if in 5 hours or $1,000, we can help you figure out how to make $150,000, which should be dirt easy to do. You're really leveraging your investment, and we can do as little or as much as you want. So it starts with a request for a conversation. Um, we can do it on site, probably don't need it for summer camp. It's probably easily done by Zoom. Whenever we work with a school online, we always do it one-on-one. It's always confidential. We always record it. We provide you with the recording. We also provide you with a script. We also turn that into a detailed action item list with a whole plan of what did we discuss and what are your next steps. We can do that 1 hour, that if that's all you need, or we can help you develop an entire plan, which for most schools is going to take between 5 and probably 20 hours of work. Again, we could come to you and be on site. Um, that's $2,000 a day plus transportation, lodging, and meals. Most schools aren't going to want that for something like a summer program, but the kind of thing I just talked about to help you talk through what you've been doing and how to get something properly planned. I'm confident that in under 20 hours, my team can help you figure this out and develop with you a specific budget and plan, marketing, everything you need to get your summer program going. It's still going to be your work. We're not doing it for you. This is not a franchise. But I cannot tell you enough that the magic ingredient of the Barry School and schools like that was my mother's background as a summer camp counselor and director. That's what made Barry so big and successful. And it certainly continues to be major today. The Alexander School in Miami is another great example. I mean, most of the schools that I meet are not taking advantage of this. So I feel like this is such an incredible opportunity that you probably ought to get serious about and see what you can make of it.
Love
All
it.
you have to do is at the end of this say let's talk, or you check the box. And what I'll typically do is I think at this point you don't have it automated where they can literally go and set up a time, but I'll send you an email, and if you give me your phone number, I'll send you a text. And I'm easy to reach. My phone number is 941-914-4103. That is my personal cell. Montessori Foundation is 941-729-9565. But the truth is, most people start by contacting me. I often send a text to people that contact me and give me their phone number saying, hey, it's Tim Selden from the Montessori Foundation. You asked if we could reach out. This is my personal cell. Feel free to text back and let me know some days and times when you're available. Let's set up a time to talk. And we set up a half an hour. I record it. I send you the recording and the transcript and all that. It's a good way for you to decide, is this the right fit for your school? And by the way, we do a lot more than camps. We do board retreats, we do professional development on site and online, customized live like we're doing now. We do curriculum analysis, we do strategic plans, whatever you need, from teacher training to designing facilities to getting your fundraising program boosted up to a whole different level to marketing, whatever you need, we are here to help.
Awesome. And so as we wrap up here, yeah, Debbie, you had mentioned, hey, we've been mulling summer programming for a few years. This information has been helpful. Share with our board. Awesome. Glad you found this helpful. Yeah, certainly whether you're thinking about starting a program or you already have one and looking to enhance it, grow it, Glad you could find this helpful. And again, don't hesitate to reach out to Tim. Your cell phone's probably going to be ringing off the hook now as you give it out here on the webinar. But if anybody wants to go and connect with you, whether it's through texting or give you a call or email, I'll put Montessori.org. You can always go there to connect with Tim. If you're interested in helping with the marketing of your program, of your school, you want to check out the growth suite. I'll put that in the chat as well, Montessori.com or MontessoriCompass.com/growth suite. So that'll help you, fill your summer programs, fill your school, and get you more inquiries and then streamline that whole process for you. So with that being said, Tim, I don't see any other questions, so I'll leave you here with the last word.
Well, the first thing is that some of you are Montessori educators, and I recognize who you are. And some of you are people who represent different kinds of schools, and some of you are from other countries. The Montessori Foundation and Montessori Growth Suite work all over the world. Um, we we may not speak every language, but you don't have to be American. We are global minded. Secondly, I just want to say about Growth Suite, what you and Montessori Compass do, in my opinion, are really is exciting. I have worked with any number of software solutions as an independent school leader. You don't have to be a Montessori school to get value out of what they're offering. So don't be spooked off by the name Montessori. Montessori, in my opinion, is what every kid deserves. It's not a cult. It's not a franchise. It's just a strategy. It's a way of life. And by the way, I'll promote my new book, which has just been released, I believe, or it's about to be released. The Montessori Way is my latest book.
Oh, nice.
You can get it on Amazon or order a signed copy through the Montessori Foundation. So if you always wanted to know about Montessori or you want to add this to your Montessori library, I would it. I just got my first copy today. I'm impressed. It's
Oh,
gorgeous.
we need to spread the word. We need to make you an Amazon bestseller.
That's right. Anyway, thanks for joining us, everyone. We're here to help. Um, Next week, Clint, I believe you're doing something totally different. I will be. Actually, I'm not sure if I'll be with you or not. We're driving up north to Maryland. Hopefully, I'll be there by Thursday. But if not, I know you'll be able to handle it well. What's the topic
Absolutely.
next week?
Well, I know next week we're going to talk about the family journey, how families are making decisions, and ultimately tying in certainly what we've done here with the growth suite about how schools can really double their top of funnel inquiries. And then also from a classroom observation standpoint, really have a great experience for the teachers and then also the families to help improve word of mouth and retention. So it's going to be a really great, all encompassing, really how to grow your school from that first messaging that creates the awareness all the way through advocacy and creating a great experience in your school. So yeah, I'm looking forward to next week.
Before we close, I'm going to say something about marketing. Again, my mother taught me this, and I learned it the hard way as well. And I found that our knowledge was very rare in the independent school community. It's getting a little bit better, but marketing is not like getting behind the wheel of a Porsche, turning on the motor and hitting the accelerator and taking off. It's more like being in the middle of the winter at a railroad siding with an old-fashioned wood-burning steam locomotive from the Civil War. And you want to get over the mountain on this cold January day, and the boiler is cold and it burns wood. So the first thing is you've got to get into the cab of the locomotive and put wood in the firebox and start a fire and slowly warm up the water in the boiler. And you get the message. It takes a while before the steam begins to form. And then when you got enough steam pressure, and that can take some serious time. And I say this because I've watched so many schools work with people like you, Clint, and say, why am I not getting instant results? And it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. You've got to keep shoveling it in. 50, 60 to $100,000 a year is what you should be spending, as I said, in my opinion, um, on marketing, on paid marketing. That doesn't count your social media person, whether they're a volunteer or otherwise, you need to do a whole lot more than you're doing now. And you need to work smart. And one of the reasons I'm working with you, Clint, is I found what you're offering to be so affordable compared to your competition and so well done. I work with a lot of other people. They're all great, but I really admire you as a person. You've become a friend and a collaborator. But I'm going to say to all of you, whether you work with Clint or someone else, you've got to think of it like that steam locomotive and tell your board this. They got to understand it. You don't shovel enough wood in. You don't keep working on getting that fire hot and let that steam pressure go. And then don't be surprised when you hit that throttle, it's not going to do a wheelie. It's going to very slowly begin to chug, chug, chug as it begins to gather steam. And the good news is once it's going, it's very hard to stop it. So that's what real marketing looks like.
Yeah, no, look, Tim, I appreciate it. And yeah, the best thing to do is really put really great foundations in place. Before, I always say, especially when it comes to advertising these days, with digital advertising especially, the good part is it's so easy to run a digital ad now, like let's say on Facebook. The bad part is it's so easy to run a digital ad now, like on Facebook, because they do make it so easy to spend the money. But if you don't have certain foundations in place, what we see is it's kind of like filling up bucket with water that has holes in it, right? It's going to be leaking out. It's not going to be as efficient. So yeah, we just want to help schools be as efficient as possible with their marketing admissions process, so that they're maximizing every dollar, getting the most bang for the buck, and more of their money is going towards their school and their ad campaigns versus agency fees. So that's the other big thing. So yeah, and again, certainly if anybody's wants to chat about that, just let us know in the post webinar survey, and we're happy to jump on a call and chat about some marketing and admissions campaigns, help you fill those summer camps, help you fill your school for next year or the years beyond. So we're here to help. As Tim says, we are here to help.
Well, goodbye, everyone. Have a great weekend, and we're here to help. My number again is 941-914-4103. I'm in the United States, so add a one if you're in Iraq or some other place. Bottom line is we're happy to help as much as we can. The rules of marketing, for the most part, are pretty much universal, and we'd love to help you. Talk to you soon.
Awesome.
See
Thanks,
you
Tim.
next
Take care,
week.
everybody.
Bye-bye.